I'd like to welcome those with us online or in the audience this morning. This is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. This is the Board of Commissioners of Weber County in a regular scheduled commission meeting. I have with me Commissioner Jim Harvey to my right and Commissioner Sharon Bolos to my left. I'm Commissioner Gage for I'll be conducting this morning. We're going to start this meeting today with a Pledge of Allegiance given by Stacy Skeen, invocation by Ms. Stephanie Russell. I will give the thought of the day, then we'll go on from there. Stacy?
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No. Audio's not. Oh, that's because she hasn't started yet. That's better.
Let us pray together. Dearest Creators, we come before Thee in humility today on this lovely winter morning with plenty of moisture and rain. We're so grateful for the opportunity to be gathered together to discuss the business of the county and to be able to provide leadership and guidance. Pray for our commissioners that they might be open to opportunities to serve and to make equitable decisions regarding the state of the county and the residents and all those that they serve within the county. We are so grateful at this time that we have a wonderful government system to work with and for our leadership and for our staff. We're grateful for all those in the community that are our stakeholders and that bring so much to this organization and to the quality of life for the individuals that reside in this county. We pray at this time that we might be blessed with inspiration, that we might be blessed with opportunities to serve and to better all the residents that are in the community and to be a greater part of the whole as we move forward with our business today. And we pray for these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, before we start the thought, anybody that's listening online, you please mute your microphones so we don't get the feedback. So thought of the day, commissioners. I mentioned a little bit this morning our extended department head meeting that the legislature, state of Utah, capital located in Salt Lake for those that haven't been there, starts a week from today. As a person that had the I guess the responsibility and really the privilege of serving there for 12 years in the House of Representatives. It's a great experience, and I encourage everybody to be involved with that process. But we need to keep in mind that those legislators down there, and I still have a number of friends there, they're just people just like ourselves. They're public servants, and they're doing what they feel is the best interest of the public they serve. And in my experience there for the 12 years, I always found that those people that took the time to come in and be educated or educate me in legislation that I was running or was being run and sat down and really had an answer to the problem that they saw or the particular issue they had in mind were a lot more effective when they came in and were congenial, had some answers, did not do personal attacks, did not send out hate emails because a particular piece of legislation may not be something they saw. And what I found was those people that took the negative approach were not usually successful. And I think we have a lesson we can learn as citizens. Obviously, it's great to be involved, but the minute that we turn to negative and we don't have answers to solutions and we continue to attack a particular policy, it's just not effective. In fact, it usually backfires on those people that attempted it. So I would just encourage, as we look at the legislative session, there's a huge amount of money that will be distributed by the legislature this year, $28 billion, from I told by a couple of friends, which is the largest budget that this state has seen. I mentioned this morning, when I went in 2007, we dealt with about $11.5 billion. So it's doubled just in that short period of time. But I would just encourage those people to be involved with that process. But in that involvement, I encourage them to be positive rather than negative. I think you'll see that your results will be successful if you take a positive approach. And nobody likes to be told that they're headed down the wrong path without. And a lot of times, and as Commissioner Harvey has reminded me on a number of occasions, not everything they do down there is 100% accurate. So I'm not trying to defend some of the bills that don't need to be talked about, but talk about them in a positive way. Attacks never work. That's my thought for the day, Commissioner.
Great thought.
Let's now go to our next agenda item, which would be public comments. We'll be taking 4 of those items listed on the agenda. We're going to, because of our length of our meeting this morning, we will be very concise in 3 minutes. Please remember, if you have comments, get those done in your 3 minutes. We're not going to allow anybody to take 2 swipes at the apple. So we'll invite anybody that has a comment either here or online. But again, I remind you, I'm going to call, we have a time clock up there, I believe. We're going to call you out of order, have you sit down. So use your words concisely. Please don't try to, if something's been said, we've heard it once. Please come forward, identify yourself and where you're from.
Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome, Commissioner Bowles. Congratulations on your election. This is regards to the short-term rental ordinance that is coming up before the Commission today. Number 1, please keep in mind some words that Stephanie Russell had in the invocation about the quality of life. Frankly, it sucks in Ogden Valley because of the short-term rental issues, and there are not just a few isolated incidents. I just ask the Commissioners to please consider the ordinance that is being presented to you, and a great deal of thanks goes to Bill Kobabe. I do not know how much of a Christmas vacation he had because of the additional research he had to do, but he did it, and he did it very well. He also sent us, after 10:30 at night, the current version of the STR ordinance in time for us to distribute it to Valley residents so they had a chance to look at the version that's being presented to you today. I also have, if you would like, which I offered at the last meeting, a copy of the STR petition that has been signed by residents in the Valley. If you would like copies of this petition, they're here. We have approximately only 450 signatures. Getting signatures around the holidays is always pretty difficult. But I assure you, Commissioners, read the staff report, read the recommendations, and the team that has been working on STR issues in the Valley, we have been attending Zoom meetings. The last, most recently, was for the unincorporated areas of Summit County, Colorado. And boy, they have really nipped this in the bud with what they want to do, and they do have issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you being brief. Additional comments, please come up.
My name is Lee Schussman, and may I approach with...
Go ahead. Thanks. Good. Great. Lee, the time's yours.
Thank you, Commissioners, for tackling this difficult issue of short-term rentals, for your leadership over these last 2 years as you have directed the Planning Office, who have devoted hundreds and hundreds of hours in developing this new short-term rental law, and for hopefully voting today to finally getting it approved. As you mentioned last meeting, Commissioner Harvey, that you didn't want to just keep kicking the can down the road. On behalf of about 36 people in the Eden Hills subdivision, we would like to publicly recognize Commissioner Harvey for your efforts in supporting the code enforcement officers in their attempts to shut down the illegal short-term rental at 3341 Eden Hills Drive. And those are the pictures that I'm showing you there, where we've had 35 to 50 participants per weekend, weekend after weekend. Iris Hennon, our enforcement officer, served them with a cease and desist order on July 22nd. that operation is still going on today. When we mailed you, Chair Harvey, on October 15th, we were relieved that you responded to us immediately with expressions of support and with plans to turn up the heat to get this illegal STR shut down. You recognized how damaging this was to our neighborhood, and we really appreciated that. We appreciated your pledge of support in supporting our community in trying to rid us of this STR. We would also like to thank Commissioner Frohr and acknowledge his consistently stated opinion and position that he has been in favor of developing effective enforcement and has been opposed to expansion of short-term rentals. In September, when we saw one draft ordinance, we were concerned that expansion was under consideration, and so contacted Commissioner Frohr. He promptly reiterated in emails to me and to many other Ogden Valley residents that his position was to not expand short-term rentals into areas where they had not been currently permitted, but was to have effective enforcement. Then, in December, consistent with that position, Commissioner Frohr made the motion, which Commissioner Harvey seconded, to adopt this new STR ordinance. And we would urge you to do so again today and to adopt this ordinance. By not expanding STRs and AV3s, I do not think the county government is taking away any existing development rights from any property owners, as short-term rentals have never been permitted in the AV3 zone. I appreciate there are some people...
Lee, we're about out of time.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish up.
If short-term rentals are expanded into AV3 and other valley areas at this time, companies, limited liability corporations, and non-resident property owners will have a green light to immediately change hundreds of residences across the valley into commercial businesses. And those who have been operating STRs illegally in AV3, as is in the case of 3341 Eden Hills Drive, will, I believe, get a green light, a get-out-of-jail-free card, and get amnesty, and will continue to denigrate our neighborhoods. We need this ordinance now. Please, Commissioners, fulfill your previous promises and commitments to the citizens of the Ogden Valley and vote to adopt this new STR ordinance.
Thank you, Dr. Sushman. I appreciate. We'll keep these on record. Anybody else? Please come up.
Sylvia Salisbury, Ogden. I don't live in the valley, so I don't have any comment on that. I just wanted to make a comment on your thought for the day.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Tonight at the Ogden Valley Library at about 7:30, most of our legislators are going to be there to talk to us about the upcoming legislative session and take our questions. So anybody that hears this, they're welcome to come.
That's the Pleasant Valley Library.
Pleasant Valley, I
right there in
believe.
Washington, South Ogden, there, and Adams.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you. And that's a great opportunity for the legislators to hear from members of the public and for you to give your input. So again, thank you for that information. I wasn't aware that meeting was taking place.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Valor Online wants to comment.
Go ahead.
Valerie Online.
Valerie, can you hear us?
She needs to unmute.
Valerie, I think you've got to unmute.
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. Please tell us who you are.
Thank you, Commissioners. As we all know, the Ogden Valley Master Plan defines clear areas where short-term rentals are permitted and where they are not permitted. Everyone purchasing a property knows the regulations. For most residents of the Valley, buying in a neighborhood that does not permit STRs is a choice to live in a neighborhood and not a party destination for short-time visitors. There's been a lot said about property rights. Nobody has the right to break the law on their property. Taken to the extreme, we can all agree that nobody has the right to shoot deer from their back porch or establish a meth lab just because it is their property. So let's cease referring to illegal rentals as the property owners exercising their rights. They are willfully flaunting the ordinance and getting away with it. For example, on our street, we have a house that has continued short-term rentals as recently as the last few weeks, despite 4 prior notices of enforcement action against them for this practice. After a court date was set, the county attorney declined to go forward because the house was sold. Conveniently, the buyers were an LLC comprised of the same owners. Clever, eh? And they continue to rent short-term, advertising on Verbo with impunity. Well, we are sick of it. As you saw from my email that I included the commissioners on this past week, we are sick of drag races in our neighborhood, on our neighborhood streets where the children play, sick of motorbike races across our properties, sick of noise until the wee hours, sick of public urination by drunken renters in a house stuffed so full that the line for the bathroom must have been too long, sick of garbage bins left overstuffed on the street that spread their refuse around our yards when winter animals open the top. We are sick of it all. Today is the day for you, the Weber County Commissioners, to say enough is enough and pass the ordinance enabling real enforcement action against those who continue to violate the rules. We've worked with you for more than 2 years, and despite Iris Hennon's diligent work and responsiveness, the illegal renters have paid no penalty of any sort for breaking the law. Please, it is time for you to take action. Please pass this ordinance and please put teeth into enforcing the regulations on short-term rentals here in the Ogden Valley. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Valerie. Appreciate the comments. Anyone else, either online or in the audience, please come forward.
Yes.
I think there was, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think there was somebody else that had raised their hand online, but they may not be able to see our presenter at the lectern.
Do we have somebody online, Shelley or Stacy? His name's Jim. Jim, we're going to let him, Gary, just hold on. Go ahead, Jim. Unmute and go ahead and take your 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Jim Brown. I live on Buckhorn Drive up in Eden, and our neighborhood is the victims of a short-term rental at 5453 Wapiti Circle. This home has 5 bedrooms and 3.5 baths, according to its ads, but it accommodates 20 people per night. We've had nearly every possible disruption of our lives that can be imagined, and you've heard some of them already this morning. This property, though, is now owned by a limited liability corporation, previously owned by a Kelly Quinton and others. Now the LLC's registered agent is Kelly Quinton. It's being advertised as being approved for a monthly rental with a discount if you're staying less than 28 days. The booking calendar, however, does not show any prices for the month, but just shows a $395 night fee. Despite the good efforts of the county, we haven't had any relief from our present statute. As Valerie just said, property rights are not so good as to infringe on the rights of others. We have the right to peaceably enjoy our homes, to not have to pick up garbage, to access our home without having the street blocked by parked cars. It's well known that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Now, there are we've heard about responsible lessors needing amnesty. Well, that's a non sequitur. A person violating the law can't be responsible because no one is hurt this particular time. you follow that line of reasoning all the way to the end, you can say that a dog owner whose dog run loose in a violation of a leash law is responsible because the dog didn't bite anyone. You can also say that the drunk driver is being responsible by not killing or maiming someone that's innocent. So please, please, enact and enforce this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else online, Stace? I guess she's gone. Go ahead, Gary, come on up.
Good morning and welcome, Commissioner Bullis, to the commission. I'm Gary Fulmer. I live in Eden, and I support everything everybody said about STRs, but I do have something else good news-wise, according to what Commissioner Foyer had to say, is I was very active in the CERT organization in the Valley a number of years ago, and I think some of you at least know what we did, and we had some issues with the county head of disaster preparedness, and we kind of faded away. But now you've appointed somebody new, and I want to give some really high praise to this person. I'm sorry I don't remember her name right at the moment.
Lisa Schwartz.
Lisa.
Yeah, and she's called together and has reemphasized the importance of CERT in Ogden Valley. She's having a public meeting Thursday night when fortunately I cannot attend, but I really do think we're headed down the right path with this. And I just want to acknowledge her new approach to the people in Ogden Valley who we're very concerned about what goes on. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate, Gary, what you've done with the CERT group. I was involved with that group, I think, when I was in the legislature, so it's very important to keep that for Ogden Valley. Appreciate your work.
Do you still have your green hat? I have mine.
I do, and I have my green vest, and I actually directed the fire engine with my green vest on.
That's great.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Please come up and, okay, we know this gentleman.
Here we go.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Commissioners. I want to talk to you about the STRs.
You better tell everybody else. Some people may not hear.
Alan Wheelwright with Eden, Utah. Thank you. I think it's one of the most important things that you're going to be voting on about the future of Ogden Valley. This has the ability to really change the dynamics of what makes a community. It's not about property rights. It's about taking away my property rights not to have an STR next to my house. I bought in the area where I bought, so I know my neighbors. I know all my neighbors on a first-name basis. We like each other. Some of them don't like quite as much as others, but we get along. We help each other out. One of my biggest fears, and a house just sold across the street, is that gets bought by an investor, gets turned into an STR. Don't know those neighbors. Each night I get a different neighbor. Maybe it's 3 nights, maybe it's 4 nights. It's someone different. That's not what makes a community. And then as an individual, I get a double whammy. Because that property is now allowed for a STR, property values go up. Because we have all these investor companies saying, man, I can make a lot of money on this property. So my property taxes go up. So I get hit with that. I have neighbors I don't know, another neighbor I don't know. My property taxes go up. Guess what? I'm going to leave. Another investor is going to buy my property. And you're going to lose the sense of community that what makes it happen. You're going to lose people who care about doing things like CERT. You're going to about people who care about building trails, about doing all those things. You're going to have a bunch of people who come in, enjoy that. Yeah, they enjoy it. They'll pay taxes, but you won't have the community and you won't have the people who really care about making it a great place to live. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you coming down.
Point of privilege?
Yes. Commissioner Harvey.
Not a lot of time will I get a chance to publicly thank or call out or embarrass someone, but I want this commission and those listening to know how much I've recognized and appreciated the individual hard work that Alan Wheelwright has done on the trail network all over the northern Utah trail network system, but especially in the Ogden Valley. You have done that because you care, and you go out and actually put the shovel in your hand and done so much. And in the 6 years that I've watched him dig holes and pour footings and build bridges and trails and bridges and everything, it's just been
I'm amazed, and you've done a great job as a community member, Alan, and I just publicly wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for all that effort and time you've put into putting into those trails up there.
Appreciate that. Yeah, great comment. You know, Alan's a good example of those people that walk the walk. He not only talks about issues that impact Ogden Valley, but he gets involved and makes sure that he has the answers, and he puts in his personal effort to solve those. Again, what I said in my opening comments, there's those people that complain that do nothing, and there's people that come to the table with ideas, improve, and work for a better solution.
And a shovel.
And a shovel. Alan's one of those. And we need to have more of those across the county, and especially Ogden Valley. Commissioner Bowles, anything you'd like to say before we move on?
No, thank
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Doug.
Come on up.
Doug Dixon.
Mr. Doug, come on up. Welcome. Please tell us online so those online know who you are.
My name is Douglas Dixon, and I want to thank the commissioner for postponing the short-term rental from last December. It's interesting to me that I watch gold, money. Let me just read my words here. It says, the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. Participation is rewarded. In this Republican form of government, participation is truly rewarded. Number 3, and this is where we are. Rules trump public clamor. Think about that. I recognize that you're in a daily, dangerous, sword-wielding situation, justly balancing the competing interests of all your constituents, both individuals and groups, to be by the elected officials on a daily basis is a hard sword to yield. I've lived long enough in the valley that the new people come in and want to put a gate at Ogden Canyon. They want to put a gate at North Ogden. That's way before the Trappers Loop. The winter plows up. Wrong. There was no such thing as short-term rentals when I bought my property, built my house with my own hands. I am not going to have people outside come in and try to incorporate and push up on me their agenda, and especially from other states. I have no place, no interest, no want of that. I push back as much as I can. I feel like David and Goliath. I promise you, I will do whatever I can to preserve, which is my right to preserve, the usage of my house. I obey the law. Inside my house is my kingdom. I can invite whoever I want into my house, providing that it's not illegal and immoral and improper. I'm a man of sound judgment and good conscience. I urge you to do the very best you can this day in the interest of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Stacy's out of the room. All right, going once, twice. Doesn't look like we have on the line. So with that, we'll shut down public comments. I appreciate very much the people that have taken time to be with us, both online and here this morning, the members of the public, and give their comments heard. Just about all except for Sylvia was about the STRs. But Sylvia, Sylvia I want to recognize as she attends these boring meetings just about every week. She doesn't usually speak very much, but it's people like her in the community that make this job worthwhile, because she knows she's here. She can always has the opportunity to speak. Sometimes she doesn't take advantage of that. We appreciate you. All right, let's move on. unless there was somebody else that had their hand. With that, Commissioners, I'm going to go to agenda item F, consent items. Number 1, request for approval of warrants. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $120,530.96, and a summary of warrants and purchase orders that I'm going to go to Ricky Hatch to give that summary. Then we'll talk about the ACH payments and go on to the minutes. Ricky, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We issued 24 purchase orders this week for $121,000. Just over a third of that amount, or $42,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center. That's to several open purchase orders for concessions, as well as some linen and towel service for the year. 26% of that amount, or $32,000, is for the roads. That will go towards purchasing snowplow blades, supplies, waste removal services, and a couple of other fees. As far as checks, we issued 174 warrants this week for $5.1 million. That's unusually high for this week. 41% of that amount is annual insurance premiums to the Utah County's Indemnity Pool. That's the county's insurance program, as well as to the Workers' Compensation Fund. 36%, or $1.9 million, is the purchase of the remaining portion of this building, the Weber Center. 10%, or $511,000, was for the transfer station to purchase new equipment and to conduct repairs to the tipping floor. And then one other notable purchase was $158,000, which was towards the purchase of the Gary Nielsen property for the Little Weber Cutoff River.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments? So I just want to back up. I need to read the warrants into the record. So just to verify what Ricky Hatch just commented on, it's approval of warrants 7002 through 7038 in the amount of $66,138, and warrants 7039 through 7082, 47,686 through 47,813, and number 233 through 234 in the amount of $5,074,251.21. And then the purchase orders, as Ricky mentioned, was $120,530.96. That's the summary of warrants and purchase orders. Agenda item 4, request for approval of the ACH payments to U.S. Bank in the amount of $216,121.39. 5, request for approval of minutes for the meeting of November 22nd, 2022 and January 3rd, 2023. 6, request for approval of new business licenses. 7, request from the Weber County Tax Review Committee for approval to refund taxes in the amount of $140.63 for incorrectly identifying acreage for parcel number 08, 482, and 13. 8, request from the Community Development Department for approval to declare parcel number 15-132-12 as surplus property. Number 9, request from the Weber County Sheriff's Office for approval to surplus equipment. 10, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Experian Information Solutions to conduct a no-cost pilot project to verify the accuracy of Weber County voter rolls. Number 11, request for approval of right-of-way contracts by and between Weber County and Huckleberry Farm Trust to purchase right-of-way along 2550 South for corridor preservation. That would be 3977 West, 2550 South. And number 12, and 3915 West, 2650 South. Those are the two right-of-ways. 12, request for approval of a right-of-way contract by and between Weber County and Joseph Yangiri Sr. and Carrie Lee Downer to purchase right-of-way along 2550 South for corridor preservations. 13, request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Neely Adams. 14, request for approval of amendments to the following agreement for District Court Indigent Defense Attorneys: Kevin Richards, Roger Adams, Justin Morrison, Martin V. Gravis, Carl N. Anderson, Andrew J. Hayward, Jennifer Clark, Rebecca Volmas, Rich Williams, Michael Boas, Gage Crowther, and Michael P. Studebaker. That's the consent items, Commissioners. Questions, or I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve consent items as presented today.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for consent items. That would be F, 1 through 14.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's go to our action items. Action item G in the agenda, as in golf. Request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing a Weber County representative to the Utah Association of Counties Board of Directors. Commissioners, that's up to us to make that appointment. I believe Commissioner Jenkins had this previous commitment, or previous assignment. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that Gage Harris Gaffroer be appointed to that position to the UAC Board.
I'll accept that since we've got the Hof Festival coming up, and I am of German heritage, so it's probably appropriate.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Request for agenda item
Hold
G.
on. That's a resolution, roll call vote.
Oh, that
I
is a
believe, Mr.
resolution?
Chair.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Roll call vote for
I'm working
resolution.
off of 2 sheets here. Now, all right, go
I
ahead.
should have made that in my motion,
Yeah.
and I apologize. Mr. Chair, may I amend my motion?
Please.
I'd make a motion that we approve Resolution 01-2023.
Okay, that'd be Resolution 01-2023. Greg?
Roll call vote for resolution 01-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now let's go to another resolution, just so we're clear, which would be approval of the County Commissioners of Weber County making appointments to the Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Service Districts Administrative Control Board. And I believe we have 3 appointments. Is that right, Stacy? We have 3 appointments on this.
Wait.
Reappointing Mayor Swartzen.
Yeah, do you want to come up and go over this, Stacy? And I believe, excuse me, I believe the 3rd appointment is just a ratification of the WACOG.
Yes, so WACOG is recommending Mayor Richard Sorensen to be reappointed, and then Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Farrar are going to. Commissioner Harvey is going to be appointed, and Commissioner Farrar is going to be reappointed.
Yeah. And then we have to reaffirm the COG decision last night
Correct.
of Richard Sorensen.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, questions? Right now, I'd look for a motion to approve as presented by Ms. Stacy Skeen this morning.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 02-2023 for the appointment of Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Services Control Board.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
Second. No other discussion. Craig, go ahead. That's a resolution.
Roll call vote for resolution 02-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye. Thank you, Stacy. Let's move now to agenda action item G3, request for approval with resolution 03-2023 of the Weber County Commissioners appointing a member to the Central Weber Sewer Improvement District Board of Trustees. I believe this is also a position held by Commissioner Jenkins for the last 4 years, I believe.
Correct.
You ready for a motion?
I'm ready.
Make a
Anytime you're ready.
motion to adopt Resolution 03-2023 to appoint Gage Frower as the member of the Central Weber Sewer Improvement District Board of Trustees.
Can we have a motion?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
And we have a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none. Craig, it's a resolution. Go ahead.
Roll call vote for resolution 03-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to G4, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Acorn Productions to hold the Acorn Antique Vintage Show at the Golden Spike Event Center. We have with us Mr. Duncan Olson. Looks like this is the Duncan Olson Show for a while here. Let's start with that, Duncan.
Like it or not. So this first one is between us and Acorn Antiques. We're still working on finalizing our fee ordinance. This has to do with the what is it called? Lattice. The lattice that they rent from us. We're just trying to make it work for both parties, and so that's why it's a little bit of it's outside of our ordinance, but it is our new fee ordinance once it comes before you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Commissioner Harvey, this is in your portfolio.
No hesitation to make a recommendation for approval of the contract between Weber County and Acorn Antique Productions.
Okay. Is that in the form of a motion to approve then?
Please.
Thank you.
Second?
And a second. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'm going to place the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Carries. Agenda item 5, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Victory Athletic Spirit to hold the Ogden Snow Bowl at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Olson.
So this one is our second round of cheerleaders for this year, and in the cheer world, they like to bring their team goodie baskets, which is kind of outside of our food ordinance. We want to make sure there's no outside food or beverage, but when it comes to these teams and these team gifts, we have to try to figure out how to work through that, and so that's what this is giving them a price point that they pay us. It's outside of our fee ordinance, but that's what's before you.
Great, thank you. Discussion, comments, or action?
These things, Mr. Chair, happen so infrequently that I can see why this is presented to us, because it is outside of our fee ordinance. And if there's no other questions or concerns, I'm ready to make a motion when you're ready, Mr. Chair.
I'm ready, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Victory Athletics for this cheerleader competition.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second?
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Duncan. Let's go to 6, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Bish RV Salt Lake to hold the Northern Utah RV Show at the Golden Spike Event Center. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this one, we're excited. This is a new RV dealer. He's from the Salt Lake area. He wanted to host a show up here. And so we've contracted with him, but because he's going to be moving out on Martin Luther King Day, we're going to allow him to stage the RVs in the parking lot on that Monday as they take them from the fairgrounds. Normally, our parking lot does cost money, but because it's a holiday and it saves us from having people to come in and have to open up the exhibit hall and get stuff out, I wanted to waive the cost of the parking lot.
Great. Thank you very much. Comments, questions? Commissioner Harvey, this is also in your portfolio.
Please, thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you, Duncan, we used to do Recromania, and we used to do a lot of different things over the last 3 decades out there. Tell me, this Bish's RV, I'm not familiar with them. Is it he alone that's coming up here? While we're no respecter to zip code who rents our facilities, is he coming in alone, or is he inviting the cities and the Bedaux RV and the Sierra RVs and the others? Are they all coming in together?
No, my understanding is it's a new company, similar to Sierra, that is coming and renting our space and holding an RV show at the fairgrounds. They came to us for some sponsorship, and I didn't really want to sponsor this event because we do have such good partners in Darren Bedaux and Sierra RV, and so I didn't want to go the sponsorship route, but I did feel that it was fair that we gave them the parking lot so they could get that out, and then I didn't have to force my employees to come in and deal with it on the holiday.
Good to know.
Did that answer it?
Thank you. It answers my question. I have some concern with regards to, I recognize that the local RV dealers are very philanthropic as it comes to sponsoring different things around the whole year, and especially during the fair. This is like bringing in somebody else from the outside and allowing them. Just got to work that through in my mind for just a minute.
For sure.
Free enterprise. I'm okay with this, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve this contract between Weber County and Bish's RV.
Thank you.
Second?
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you.
Duncan, will you make sure, just as point personal
Yeah,
privilege,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, he gets an off-site business license permit so that the taxes for sales generated at the show are
Yeah, I'll
taken
double
care
check
of.
on that for sure.
Specifically, because I want to make sales tax captured here in Weber County.
For sure.
Thank you.
And Duncan, I appreciate you looking after our partners out there. I think that makes sense. Obviously, we want to give top priority to our local businesses. They're the ones that employ our citizens here. They pay property tax and sales tax, so I think that's appropriate we do that. But at the same time, if it's an opportunity to have another company come in, then by all means, I think that's under the business, as Commissioner Harvey said, under the right requirements. That's a proper thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, everybody that comes to that show, they're going to drive past a Sierra RV sign.
Yeah.
And they're going to come through on I-15, so
Yeah.
they get theirs too.
Yeah. I got a feeling it won't hurt Sierra that much, so.
For sure.
Thank you. Let's go now to our next agenda, item 7, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the B&B All-Stars Band for entertainment at the 2023 Hof German Fest. Miss Cassie Bybee, we've got that fast approaching. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. So this is the third and final contract of the entertainment at the Hof Festival, and we just need approval of them to come in and entertain. And this is on the 20th and 21st of January, so here in just a couple weeks, Friday and Saturday.
German Heritage. Commissioner Harvey, this is also in your portfolio.
Thank you. No questions, Mr. Chair. I'm familiar with the B&B All-Stars. They've hired those in the past, and so I'll make motion to approve contract between Weber County and B&B for the Hof German Fest.
Thanks, that.
And that's pronounced Hof, not Hof.
Hof. Did I say Hof? I know
No.
Hof.
But some people say Hooper, and you just lets them know where they're
Hof. Yeah, I'm
not from.
very familiar with that.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second. So just a question before I place the motion, Cassie. So I remember this whole festival going back a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
And originally it was started by Ogden City.
Correct.
And I remember we had a ski hill set up on 24th Street
Yes.
right here at one time. I had my hockey teams involved with that. How did we end up with this, and what's Ogden City's participation on it right now?
Ogden City this year is actually one of our largest sponsors. They sponsored at a $5,000 level, and so that was the first time in several years that they have offered that sponsorship, so they are involved this year again. And this went from Ogden City, and it went out to Golden Spike, and it's been at Golden Spike for several years. 23 years.
Wow.
And then just last year, we moved it to the conference center and back here into downtown. That because of the food vendors and things where we have the commercial kitchen. It's just so much easier for us to be able to provide all the German food and things than to have Duncan do it out at his facility. And we wanted to bring it back down into downtown Ogden. And we've got Ogden City back involved with it.
Right. Thank you. I was going to say, if this keeps snowing and we stop the rain, we could open up 24th Street to a ski hill. It'd be kind of fun again.
There you go.
And also ski cajoling.
Yeah.
Which most people have no idea what that is.
Would you explain what that is?
Well, cajoling is a horse that pulls a skier behind it.
We could probably do that down Washington Boulevard.
They used to do it down Washington Boulevard.
That's right. Yeah.
When they used to walk uphill to school each way. 14 feet of snow.
And 3 miles, that's long before your time, Commissioner Harvey.
Well,
not much.
Okay, anything else?
This festival is open to the public, and there's tickets for sale at the door, so we invite everyone in the community to come and join us on those 2 days.
Boy, this is a great feel-good.
It's 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. both days.
Both days.
Mm-hmm.
Come sit, eat, listen to the music, and feel it. It's a great experience.
Kids activities, there's a kids corner, there's a lot going on, a lot of family, it's family friendly, a lot of entertainment for the kids to be involved as well, and everyone practice your chicken dance, because we do it several times.
All right, we'll do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I think we had a
Cassie.
motion in a second, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to place a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Cassie, you're still up.
Yes.
Which is a request for a contract by and between Weber County and VCBO Architect for the Ogden Eccles Conference Center remodel. We talked about this a little this morning. We're excited about this.
Yes, we are. We're very excited about it, too. This has been a process, as you know. We went out for an RFQ, and then we went out for RFP, and we have settled with VCBO, this architect group. And just to recognize, we have with us today Corinne Crouch. She's in the chamber today with us. She is the lead architect, the lead design and project manager for this architectural group. Their principal architect couldn't be with us. He was out of state today on another project, but that's the contract. So this, so that you're aware, has been through back and forth through your attorney's office and through them, and been reviewed by their attorneys and things. And everyone has come to this agreement, and they're comfortable with this version of the contract.
And just to be clear, there was an RFP that you actually went through with Marty and Jennifer,
Correct.
and so this was not a sole source. This was an RFP.
No, RFQ, then an RFP. And just to be aware, we're trying to secure more funding. So this contract is for the 5.8 million, and then we're hoping to secure about another 6 million. And if that is the case, if that happens, then we'll be able to do an addendum to this contract.
Great. Thank you very much, Cassie. Does that end your presentation?
Yes, it does.
Questions, comments, commissioners?
None.
If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County and VCBO Architecture for the Ogden Echoes Conference Center remodel.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowles.
Second with comment.
Go ahead.
Represents a long time coming, Cassie. This lot of research. People, I just want to reiterate how well. Is Sarah still here?
Sarah's here.
Tolliver here. Tourism is often taken for granted in communities, and especially in Weber County. It was tourism that was basically annihilated through the majority of the country during COVID, except for Weber County. Weber County did very, very well in our tourism, respectfully speaking of other communities, or comparatively speaking to other communities, because people like you, Cassie, people like Duncan and Todd and Mariko, who found ways to keep people safe during COVID and allowed them to use our public facilities while still keeping the health standards of the community, which in turn kept our hotels alive, kept many of our restaurants alive. And it's because of these things, the tourism still happened, that the tax derived from those lodging things that we did relatively well. It's because of that we had the funds to be able to fund things like this expansion without having to go into debt and bond for things that so many other communities have to do. And I'm very grateful for the efforts Marty and Jennifer and the rest of the Culture Parks and Recreation team do to make sure, and I'd be remiss without saying Ms. Tolliver and her team as well, to keep tourism in a good place in Weber County. The tourism dollars in this community directly and positively affect property tax. Our property taxes, while they're high, could be a lot higher if we didn't enjoy the tourism that we have now. And so I wanted to make that point. And I hope people validate and research what I just said. They'll find that everything that I said is very conservative and probably even more so than what we have, but they've done very well. So thank you very much. That's my second.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. So what you're saying is that by us putting public dollars into infrastructure to do some renovation and some upgrade to this building could have an impact on tourist tax in our restaurants and hotels that would actually impact, make sure that property taxes stay at a level that are subsidized by the TRT, by the transit room tax and the restaurant tax. Is that?
That's,
yeah.
According to Vicki Varela, wasn't our figure somewhere north of $1,300 a year?
It used to be in 2021, it elevated to $1,694 per household.
Wow.
$1,694 per household.
And how many cents?
I don't, 1,694 is pretty good. Yeah, that's great.
No, that's good. And I can just say there's a lot of discussions going on right now in the legislature, pre-legislature, that looks at tourism tax and looks at that there's some counties that don't have a third party or a 501c3 forest division, like we are fortunate to have that's run by Sarah. Some of those are held internally by the counties. I'm an advocate for the route that we go and turn that into private hands. I think I'm a believer in private enterprise. It's run well by private enterprise. We're just very fortunate to have a person of Sarah's caliber running our tourism industry here. We're really the showcase of the state of Utah. And when she came to the legislature during my 12 years there, she always got everything she wanted. So it was, and now she's in charge of legislation. Yeah. So, anyway, any questions or comments?
I'm going to have her ask for more money. Come here, Sarah.
Yeah. All right. Did we have we did have a motion?
And a second.
And we had a second. I'm going to place that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Cassie.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our next and final agenda item, which is ordinance 2023-01. Wow, 01, first one of the year. So that we're probably, most of us, unless you've been living in the backwoods, which some of us do, have heard about the short-term rental code text amendments, and comments were made about Bill Kobabe and his diligence of putting this forth. Has not been a easy effort by any means. There's been a lot of work over the past year and a half, probably 2 years in this, and Bill has come in and really taken the ball and run with it. And we're at the point now to make a decision, Commissioner. So, Mr. Kobabe, the time's yours to talk about this ordinance and then any changes to this ordinance that may have been created since we looked at this, I believe, 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
Time's yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. And of course, I work with an incredible team of people who have helped and supported me and guided me through this process, so I'm grateful for that. Not just the planning staff, but also interested stakeholders and lots of concerned and interested folks. So I'm grateful for all of the input. Speaking of input, we just got a list of things from the attorney's office this morning that we incorporated. That's what you have in front of you. They're very minor changes, typos and things like that. The main thing that we wanted to bring to your attention is in section 108.11 8C4.
What page is that?
We took off the page numbers per the request of the...
okay, sorry.
108.11C4? Correct. It talks about 3 consecutive nights at the request of the attorney's office and in consultation with our enforcement officer. We changed that to 2 consecutive nights just to clarify, and I think in the original ordinance it said 3 consecutive days. We changed that to 2 consecutive nights, showing that you could arrive during one particular day, stay 2 nights, and leave on the 3rd day. So the ordinance refers to 2 consecutive nights.
Which really, in the end of the stays the same as 3 days. It's just clarified it for the nights, which I think is appropriate.
Exactly. Thank you. The rest of those changes we feel like were pretty de minimis, but they are in front of you if you'd like to go through those, and if you had any questions, they are highlighted there.
Commissioners, I think we've been through this on a number of different occasions.
The other question we had that stemmed out of last month's meeting was with regard to a provision for amnesty. We looked into the different research that we had done and looked at the different communities' ordinances with regard to short-term rentals. We couldn't find anyone that had a provision for amnesty. We also reached out to our third-party enforcement folks and asked them if they were aware of anyone that was doing any kind of an amnesty or provision for amnesty, and they weren't aware of anyone either in their reach and their experience. And so we don't. That's what our research came back with on that. The other thing that is in your staff memorandum for today's meeting was with regard to exceptions to the zoning ordinance. This gives staff a significant amount of pause because exceptions are very difficult to administrate. But I did put together, in consultation with the rest of the planning staff, some ideas and questions and things that ought to be addressed. If these things are of interest for pursuit, staff's recommendation would be to send that back to the Planning Commission for their review and get some real language fleshed out that address these concerns and these points that are brought up that you see in the memo for today's meeting. So that's basically where we're at. Nothing substantive has changed from the last time you looked at the ordinance, except for these things outlined as per the attorney's thing, and those are minor changes, like I said, typos and stylistic kinds of changes, nothing policy-wise.
Yeah, we call that cleanup language.
Exactly.
Okay. Is that it, Bill?
That's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioners, back for comments, questions, concerns, and/or action.
I do have a comment, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Last week, I met with Bill and with Rick, and they went through this history with me, which I much appreciated. I had some awareness of this, but I appreciate the detail that they went into with me, and they're very confident in this ordinance and reiterated that to me several times, so I do appreciate the work that was put in. I've also received a number of emails from residents, and I always appreciate that input and that and enjoy considering everyone's point of view and concerns. And after talking with Bill and Rick, I feel like those concerns have been addressed in one way or another, so I appreciate the work done on this. And I do appreciate you bringing me up to speed and making me feel confident in this.
Good. Thank you very much. Commissioner Harvey.
A couple of questions for Mr. Grover.
Go ahead.
Rick, come on up.
Yes, Commissioner.
And we talked in advance of this. The areas that are included, that are short-term rentals, are allowed in certain areas and not allowed in other areas. Who designed that boundary? When did that boundary take place? Was it a wand that was just waved? How did that all work?
So it was done quite a while ago, and I visited with Sean just to see if he was aware of any changes. And it existed before his time. There were a few minor changes.
So hold on, I want to be really clear
Yes,
here because
please.
this is important. What does your time mean, Sean? I know you're young and
Commissioners, I started in the planning office in 2005. So
Wow.
I can't speak prior to that, but I've been with the county for quite some time and involved with planning during my entire career with Weber County. So yes, we always had areas for short-term rentals, certain zones where they were allowed. Over time, we did have some additions where in certain types of developments by a conditional use permit, short-term rentals could be allowed. So there have been some changes over the years, but short-term rentals in certain zones have always been allowed since I have been with the county.
so, thank you, Mr. Chair, if I can continue.
Go ahead.
So, hold on there. So what you're saying is the term short-term rental existed prior to 2005?
At the time, we would call them nightly rentals,
Nightly
but
rentals.
yes, the same thing.
So nightly rentals were occurring for 18-plus years that you know of since your time here?
Yes, and certainly they have grown in popularity over that time, but yes, they did exist previously.
That's interesting. You know, I remember nightly rentals. I made this statement the first time. I remember nightly rentals in other states where I was in the late 60s and early 70s, but it's nice to know that they existed in Utah, especially in the Upper Valley, before at least 2005. I don't know if, you know, before then, but thank you. That helps me.
Thank you.
So I have some other statements, but I don't want to get too personal. I know that as a young father, back more than a decade before 2005, in an effort so that my wife could stay home and raise our kids, I started a business. out of my home. And it required me back in 1994 to get a conditional use permit. And at the time, my neighbors were polled whether or not I would be able to do that. Do we still allow conditional use permits, Mr. Grover, in unincorporated Weber County?
We do. And in order to get an STR, it does require a conditional use permit.
In order to get an STR in an area that's not allowed?
No, that is allowed.
So even if you lived in an area, whether it was or wasn't allowed, you could get a conditional use permit?
Correct, under our current ordinance.
Under our current ordinance, would it allow for a conditional use permit for a STR?
It would in certain areas.
Very good. Very good. So, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
and Commissioner Bolos,
Still got it.
my desire with regards to not only this document that I really appreciate, and Charlie's been involved in this too.
Yes.
It's nice. Charlie's a great guy, but we've shortened our meeting by 90 minutes because Charlie's not here. Those of you who work with the staff, Charlie is here.
Oh.
I wanted to make sure. I was just going to say, I wanted to make sure you heard that comment.
We just didn't give him the mic.
Yeah. That's just a little bit of a dig, a lot of a dig, Charlie. And that's, anyone who invests that kind of time and energy and care into something, it's easy to go on for 90 minutes. Good for you. Listen, commissioners, my goal is to... I remember the first house that I bought. I wasn't going to go here, but I am.
Go ahead.
I remember the first home that I bought, and I worked my tail off so that I could purchase a home. And about a year after I bought that home, my neighbor began dating a doctor, and she moved out, and she was going to rent her home. And I thought, how dare she do that? How dare she invite those kind of people next door to where it was my safe family environment? And I thought, gosh, it was really hard for me, hard to understand. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Hold on. Before I bought my home, I was one of those kind of people. I have rented short-term rentals with my family. It's a great alternative for the size of my family than buying 10 hotel rooms or whatever it is. I love the option of being able to have options. I'd like to hope that we're all good actors, and I don't have any compassion or even care for those people who aren't good actors. Specifically, I'm going to, because I don't want Chris over here to give me the glare, but we've heard about some bad actors on Eden Hills Drive. We've heard about some bad actors on Wapati Circle. And we've heard about bad actors that are in and around the neighborhood of the elementary school up there. I don't want any bad actors, whether they're in a approved zone or not. And I want to send a loud thud to those bad actors that while I'm here, if they choose to continue to allow people to come into their homes who are bad actors, my intention are to make those fines so incredibly hard that they would almost have to sell their property. We don't want you here. We don't want bad actors. I don't like mean people, and I don't like bullies. So my goal through this ordinance and eventually as we continue forward is to not take away property rights for people who intend to be good actors. People who have worked their whole lives in a system and who may have a limited retirement income that need a little extra help because they want to rent a room, or they want to rent a room that's in their home or above their back garage. But they manage it well. And they're good actors, but it provides a little extra income, and most certainly a fantastic experience in a valley that I think is as beautiful as any valley in the United States. I could go on, but those are my desires as I take a look at this. I do believe we need to start somewhere, but I do not intend to take away rights from people who deserve them. And I don't want to take away rights. Alan, now don't shake your head. I don't want to take away rights for people who deserve to sleep at night, deserve to have lights not bursting and parties going on. I hate that. I want to have good actors. So we have to be able to enforce. And whether it's you or you or you or you or you or you, you shouldn't have to pay for that with your existing property tax. If your neighbor decides to make a business out of their house, then the revenue generated from that license fee and from the taxes derived from that rental need to pay for enforcement, not our existing property tax. So I while wanting to mitigate the existing burden of tax on those people who live here, I want to create a hammer to make sure people stay compliant. Those are my comments today, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you for that. Yeah, very informative. Commissioner Bullis, do you have anything else before we move on?
Yeah, one more thing, if I can.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Harvey brought up the enforcement, and I think that's such an important piece. And enforcement is the key to everyone living and doing business peaceably. And so I think that's very important. And I was happy to hear that we had a third-party contract for enforcement, and I think that will help. But if we want things to get better, we have to have the rule and we have to have the enforcement. So that's a very important part of that.
Thank you very much. So before I place the motion, I just want to say a couple of words, since this is my home area, and Doug's comments struck a particular note with me. On any major issues, I've always found that there's always two sides to the coin. I used to say in the legislature, no matter how thin you slice it, there's still two sides. Sometimes because of what we see in newspapers, et cetera, there only appears there's one side, but that's not true. I've actually lived in the Valley for the better part of 70 years now. I remember when some of us that lived in the Valley that period of time, we weren't that desirable a spot. We were actually called the Hillbillies. And why would you live there in a place like Ogden Valley where it snows 4 feet or 5 feet, which it did back then? We don't want any part of it. Then it started to change. We had people come in from out of state, and they said, well, you locals don't understand how beautiful this area is. Well, that was quite an insult, because I think we moved to the Valley. I think my great-greats that lived there since 1860s moved there because of the beauty. So it's a little bit of a tough sell when I get told by people that moved in the last 10, 15, 20 years that locals like ourselves don't appreciate the Valley, don't appreciate the beauty, and that they need to basically take control of the future of the Valley, which again, there's citizens that live in the Valley that have been there almost as long as I have, some longer, that take offense to that. So I think we need to start looking as a community and realizing that there's more than one side to this coin. And issues like this are very critical. People say, Doug brought up, let's shut the gates. People tell me, hey, why don't we just shut the gates to the Valley? I told them I'm very willing to do that, but the shut the gates, I would say we need to take that back, in my mind, to maybe the 60s, maybe the late 50s, and then anybody that hasn't lived in the Valley since that period of time should move out. So when do we draw the line in terms of shutting the gates? Obviously, there is no shutting the gates. We have to control the environment. But those people that come in with the attitude of stopping everything are on the wrong side of this equation. They're on the wrong side of where we're going to head with this county, because we're not stopping growth. We need to control growth. And as Dr. Schussman very accurately stated, I've always been on the opinion that we need to look at property rights on, again, both sides, those that have STRs and those that are impacted by STRs. My answer to them has to start with enforcement, and enforcement starts with an inventory. That's why we've gone out just a month ago and hired a third-party enforcement agency to start it, because Iris back here in the back of the room takes a lot of heat, takes a lot of pressure, like we all do, from members of the public that say that we're not doing anything. Again, that's not accurate. That's fake news. Iris works her tail off, I can tell you, in doing and taking care of those reports that we do. But we know that with a 24/7 operation, we need to have 24/7 enforcement. That's where we're headed with this, in the event that this does pass. We need to identify, we need to have third-party enforcement. We need to look at what takes place at the state. This is, I can just say this is not going to be the end-all to where STRs go, no matter where this goes, because there's legislation running through the legislature and starting next week that will have a major impact on STRs and private property rights and how we deal with this. I'm hopeful that if this ordinance passes, this is a start in the direction of enforcement and then making sure that we can properly fine those, what Commissioner Harvey says, as bad actors, which is what we need to do. Now again, we're limited under state statute with that. That'll be part of the state code that we'll be looking at. But again, I think this is a step in the right direction. Let's look at enforcement. Let's look at we need to take some small steps before we can actually go on from there. And there may be some changes. I think there will be some changes because of state code that will change what our abilities are as a county. We know right now, I think there's lawsuits. We saw an example of a lawsuit, I believe, was that in Utah? Anyway, Utah, that being sued by a group of people because of too harsh restrictions on STRs.
Oh, yeah.
Our obligation to all the public is to avoid spending taxpayer dollars on unnecessary lawsuits. We've always taken that position. It's my belief if you create clear and direct ordinance, we can avoid those lawsuits. But taking it too far, one way or the other, swinging that pendulum to one direction or the other, will result in this county being in a lawsuit. And that will never happen, at least when I'm chair. We're going to make sure that that pendulum's clearly in the center. With that, I'm ready to call for either additional comments or call for a place for a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-01, approving short-term rental code text amendments.
So we have a motion to approve 2023-01 ordinance regarding short-term rental code.
I'll second the motion.
And we have a second, Commissioner Harvey. I'm going to place the motion. Greg, go ahead.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-01. Commissioner Bolos.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Faure.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate all that involved with this. I appreciate your being with us today. With that, our final item would be commissioner comments. Commissioner Bolos, I'm going to go to you first.
I'm just going to say the same thing that I said this morning in a meeting of the, what did you call it? The extended department head meeting. And I just mentioned that my week here has felt like several months, and it's because of the welcoming that I've received from the staff. And in a short time of a week, I found out that we have a lot of stellar people who work for the county.
We do.
And I knew about some of them before I got here, but I know about a lot more of them, and I'm just really appreciative of the operation that goes on here in Weber County.
And let me just say, we've just in the past week, we've had the opportunity to have some working discussions with Commissioner Bolos. Boy, she's just hit the ground running. Her experience as mayor of West Haven, she's on top of it. I tell you this, we always worry about people coming in. I've been told that the learning curve here is, anywhere from a year to 2 years. That's not true with her. She's on
9
top.
months?
She's on top of it with one week, so we're very excited to have her. Commissioner Harvey.
No comment, Mr. Chair.
Really?
Don't question that.
Wow, that surprises me.
Where did Charlie go?
Yeah.
Charlie must have had more.
You chase Harley out of the room. With that, I entertain a final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion.
A second.
And we have a second. Non-debatable. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.